Welcome back here on the Cougar Sports Network. And it's the last day of the season for your Concordia Chicago Cougars men's volleyball team as they will cap off the 2026 season taking on the Marian Sabres. And season hasn't gone the way Cougars would have liked. They didn't manage to get into the NAC tournament this season, but still, a lot to play for today on the last day of the season. Cougars with a win today. They finished the season at 12-12 at 500. Meanwhile, Marian also hasn't had the season that they would like to have. They're sitting at 7-17, but still, they would like to play a little bit of spoiler for the Cougars' home finale. As the game's getting ready to start, let's get into the starting lineups. We're going to start first with the Sabres. Sabres at number 3, Trent Guson. Number 7, Juan Gomez. Number 9, Adrian Calderon-Castro. Number 10, Carter Sjogren. Number 14, Luke Jones. Number 25, Giancarlo Bo. And the libero, number 2, CJ Kendrick. Meanwhile, your Concordia University Chicago Cougars. Number 5, Ayaz Arif. Number 7, Tyrese Armstrong. Number 8, Alexander Ford. Number 10, Marcin Hoffman. 11, Elijah Mosher. 17, J.R. Stella. And the libero for the Cougs, number 4, Michael Cardenas. Now we're just getting ready for the start of the set. Marian coming into today, well, actually both teams coming in today on a 3-game losing streak. But between the two teams, Marian has won the last 5 straight matches against the Cougs. Cougars haven't won since March 6, 2025, March 6, 2020, aka a week before the COVID-19 pandemic hit. First serve for the Cougars is Marcin Hoffman. Hit up by Bo. Blocked at the line by Tyrese Armstrong, and the Cougars get on the board first. A big block there just right at the net by Tyrese Armstrong. Sent that one all the way to the back line, and Cougars jumping out 1-0 early. Hoffman with the serve again. It gets it over. Hit up by Bo. Tapped. Mosher to Cardenas. J.R. Stella with the big hit. Nice reception by Kendrick. And I believe they're going to call a double hit there on Marian. So Cougars get the first 2 points here in set number 1. Is now Marcin Hoffman going back to serve for the 3rd time in a row. Serves are received by Kendrick. Bow. Hit by Mosher to Cardenas. Stella with a big hit. Tipped at the line. Covered by Bow to Kendrick. Tipped up at the line. Mosher. Armstrong with the tap. Nice save by the Sabres to keep it up to Cardenas. Mosher. Ayaz. Nice hit there by Ayaz Arif. Hits it again for the Cougars. Did a nice job there finding the Sabre gap near the back line despite a nice dive attempt by the Sabres. Couldn't come up with it, and Cougars starting the match off hot, up 3-0. Hoffman with the serve. Kendrick. Bo. Hit up at the line. Mosher to Cardenas. Stella with the big hit. Nice hit by Bo, and that's just going to go straight out of bounds. Was all Bo could do to get his hands up and try to keep the ball in. Unfortunately for him, that one was just a rocket out of bounds past the far side official, and the Cougars are streaking as they are up 4-0. Once again, Hoffman with the serve gets it over. Kendrick. Bo. Calderon-Castro. Nice play by Mosher. Hit it up. Nice tap by Armstrong. And the big hit there by the Cougars. Massive hit by Tyrese Armstrong, which is a nice job there to help recover from Mosher just accidentally tapping it over the net. Great job executing off the Sabre hit. Cougs up 5-0. They are rolling. Hoffman serve gets over, and that's going straight back. CJ Kendrick cannot field it cleanly. And that is a service ace there for Marcin Hoffman. And wow, you couldn't ask for a better start here from the Cougars. They're up 6-0. Hoffman serve gets over Kendrick. Bo. Hit straight up by Mosher. Cardenas. To Armstrong to Kendrick. Bo. Tapped over there, hit up by Stella. Mosher. That was Hoffman there. Bo. Calderon Castro, nice field by Cardenas. Up by Mosher again. JR Stella hit. Sabres managed to recover from it. And a nice play there by the Sabres. Carter Sjogren managed to swipe it past the Cougars' front line, and Marian is finally able to get on the board. On that volley, there were several nice attempts by the Sabres to corral the ball when it seemed like it might get away from them for a second. Goosson's serve gets over. Tyrese Armstrong, block at the line by Calderon Castro. An absolutely massive block. Armstrong teed up for that one. And Calderon Castro just hit him with a return to sender. Goosson's serve barely gets over to Mosher. Tyrese Armstrong, nice tap attempt, gets over. Hit up by Gousson. And that one's just going to soar all the way out. Juan Gomez was trying to find this near side corner of the Cougs. It was open, but it just put a little bit too much sauce on it. Possession now heads back to the Cougs. As Reef now back to serve for the Cougs. He gets it over. Bo. And a massive hit there by Carter Sjogren. Just able to hit it right in the hole of the Cougars defense. And Marian slowly getting points. Started off down 6-0. But have gone on a 3-1 run here now as Sjogren is heading back to serve. Sjogren serve gets over to Armstrong. And a massive hit there by J.R. Stella. Perfect placement right on the line. Sends possession back to the Cougs. And again, the Cougs are off hot to start today. They've just been doing a great job of playing clean volleyball here to start, knock on wood. Stella serve goes back, fielded by Calderon Castro, hit over. Nice save by Cardenas to keep it up. I think they are going to call it as it did hit the ground, but still, heck of an effort by Cardenas to keep that alive. But again, service back to the Sabres. Now Adrian Calderon Castro back to serve. Serve gets over, hit up by Armstrong. Aaron hits straight over. Sabres can capitalize though, hit over. Blocked at the line by the Cougs, kept up. Mosher tap, an absolute missile from Alexander Ford. Mosher just tapped it up for him, and Ford sent a rocket launcher to the back. That was just a power hit there by Ford. Now Hoffman back in the game for Gato. Tyrese Armstrong heading back to serve. This gets overfielded by Kendrick. Calderon Castro, big hit. Calderon Castro trying to go for a power shot. He just put a little too much juice on it. Cougars first one to hit double digits here in set number 1 as they jump out to a 10-4 lead. Armstrong once again back to serve. Hits it over, and that's going to be the first service error of the day for the Cougs. Actually, first service error of the day by either team. Cougars had done a good job playing safe volleyball through the first 14 points, but on point 15, Armstrong sends one into the net. And now we got Andrew Briones back to serve. Hit up by Cardenas. Mosher. Hoffman. Fielded nicely by Kendrick. Stella. Mosher. Blocked at the line by number 14, Luke Jones. I believe that was Marcin. Hoffman went for the big shot, but then Luke Jones was just right there to send it straight back for the Sabres. Andrew Briones once again serving. Mosher. Stella with a tap over. Beautiful design there and execution by Stella. He saw the Sabres were anticipating another big hit from him, so instead he just tapped it over the net. CJ Kendrick of the Sabres tried to dive for it, but it was too little too late. Now Alexander Ford back to serve for the Cougs. That one is going to be just a little bit too far. It's going to make it back-to-back service errors for the Cougs. And now serving for the Sabres is number 14, Andrew Browns. The serve gets over, fielded by Armstrong to Mosher. Big hit to Stella. Ooh, dump over by Mosher. Nice play by Sabres to keep it up. And just the insane volley as the ball ricocheted off everyone before getting over. Mosher to Arif. Caught on catch with a big shot, kept up by Armstrong. Marcin Hoffman with a hit over. Hit straight up by Calderon. Castros has to get hit over. Mosher. Hoffman. Calderon Castro sends it all the way out of bounds, almost into the first row. And the Cougars come out of that wildly entertaining volley on top. The ball was just ricocheting all over the place. It was just bouncing around. But in the end, Cougars were the one that gained control of it. Eli Mosher's serve gets over. Hit up by Browns to Mosher. Cardenas recovers it. Stella blocked at the line by the Sabres, but that one's going to go straight out of bounds. Cougars get the point. They're now up 13-7. A very entertaining set number one. Cougars started off hot. Sabres tried to claw their way back, but now Cougars are going to run again as Mosher's serve gets over, recovered by Browns. And a massive hit there by number 10, Carter Sjogren. Several Coug players tried to reach for it, but no one was able to make a play on it with how quickly that shot was coming in. Now for the Sabres, you got Giancarlo Bowe back to serve. Sophomore out of San Juan, Puerto Rico for the Sabres. Bowe's serve gets over, fielded by Cardenas. Mosher, J.R. Stella with a weird hit. Mosher with the save. Cardenas tried his best to track it down. It was just a misdirection off Mosher's hit. Sent it straight back. Despite Cardenas' efforts, did make contact with the ball, but he wasn't able to send it back towards the net in any way. And now Bowe's once again back to serve for the Sabres. Bowe's serve gets over, fielded by Cardenas to Mosher. To Ayaz Arif with the absolutely massive shot there. He saw the gap in that Sabre defense, and he made him pay. And now Marcin Hoffman, who started serving for the Cougs, is now back again. And that one is unfortunately going to be a bit too long, as the Sabres now hit double digits, making it a 14-10 Cougar lead. As Hoffman's going to exit the game for the Cougs while Van Gato enters. Serve by Guson is over. Hit up by Gato to Cardenas. Tyrese Armstrong. He sends it out the side by Kendrick to Bowe. Hit straight back over by Gato. Blocked at the line by Tyrese Armstrong, but Engel sends it out of bounds. On the Sabres get the point, making it a 14-11 match. I believe the closest it's been since it was 3-0. Guson's serve is a little bit long, so the Cougars once again get their lead back up to 4. They're now leading the Sabres 15-11. Ayaz Arif serving for the Cougs. His serve gets over, hit by Guson to Bowe. And that one, a big hit by Juan Gomez off the arm of the Cougar front lines, out of bounds. So Sabres get possession back on their side. Now they're sending Carter Sjogren back to serve. Hit up by Tyrese Armstrong. Gato has to run for it. Nice save by Gato. Cardenas just has to get it over then. Bowe. Nice hit by Cardenas. Mosher. Tyrese Armstrong tried to go the far side, just hug the net. Fortunately, it hugged it a little bit too much and ended up not going over. Sabres now started the set down 6-0, now only trailing by 2. Carter Sjogren's serve gets over. Armstrong just sends it straight back over. Nice recovery by Gato Cardenas. Gato just has to hit it all the way back, and it's too far back. Can't get the angle. It's a point for the Sabres, and that is going to force Cougars coach Greg Manos to call his first timeout of the set. So while they take a timeout on the floor, we're going to take a timeout here, but don't go anywhere because we'll be right back on the Cougar Sports Network. Welcome back here on the Cougar Sports Network. I'm Eric Perry as the Cougars holding on to a 1-point lead here in set number 1. It started out dominant for the Cougs. They got the first 6 points on the board, but since then Marian has been able to make it just a 14-15 ball game. Carter Sjogren now has the opportunity to tie the game for the first time since 0-0. Sjogren serve gets over, hit up by Gato. To Mosher. JR still a big hit, but it's going to just miss the line. It was just a little bit too much to the right. And like I said, Sabres tie it up at 15-15. First tie since 0-0. Now Sjogren has the opportunity to give the Sabres their first lead of the set. Armstrong hits it up to Mosher. And the dump by Ford was sent straight back by the Sabres. And that's going to force Coach Greg Manos of the Cougs to call another timeout. And, you know, typically you don't see a timeout called just 2 points into the set, but Manos felt it was necessary as the Sabres now have gone on a 5-0 scoring run here. And again, the Cougars, they started off really dominantly. They had a really strong front line. They were able to just hit the ball past the Sabre players and find the holes in the defense. But since then, the Sabres, they've been playing tighter. They've been able to they've got 3 blocks to the Cougars 1, which is a big difference. Their front line has done a very good job of making so the Cougars haven't been as capable of getting those big power shots. And, you know, you want to look at as well, Cougars 3 service errors to their 1 service ace. So that doesn't help when you're the Cougars. You have possession, then you send it back. Then you just give it a point and possession back to the Sabres on an errant serve. But, again, it's 16-15 in set number 1. We still have a heck of a lot of volleyball to play here today. And, again, Cougars, they can easily get this thing right back on track. They're only down 1. There's still 9 points to go for the Sabres. All Cougars got to do is go on another run like they did at the start of the game. And Cougars can take this set 1-0. But to do that, first we're going to have to get the ball away from Carter Sjogren. Hit up by Gato, Mosher, Alexander Ford, hit all around there. Bo hits it up. And that's going to be sent out of bounds. Trent Cougs' son was trying to get a nice hit to the left side of the Cougs, but he was sent it a little bit out of bounds. So the Cougars now tied up again. Got possession. JR Stella looking to give the Cougs back the lead. Stella's serve is overfielded up by Kendrick. And that's a massive block by Armstrong, but it went out of bounds. Unfortunately for the Cougs, he did a great job of coming up to block Adrian Calderon Castro's hit, but just angled a little bit outside. Now, Calderon Castro's back to serve for the Sabres. That one gets over. Nice dive by Gato, hit up by Mosher. Armstrong has to hit it from the back and just missed that back corner. You could tell he was looking for it. If you pull it in just a few inches, he finds it. Unfortunately for the Cougs, he does not now. Gato exiting the match. Coming back in is number 10, Marcin Hoffman, as Calderon Castro trying to increase the Sabres' lead. Serve gets overhit up by Armstrong. Forward going coast to coast with it. Hit up by Bo. Gooson hits it, and Hoffman not able to clean it. He had to drop down to a knee to try to recover it, but he couldn't hit it up. He just hit it straight to the side. And now Marian on a 7-1 scoring run. They have been on fire here down the stretch. Calderon Castro with the serve to Armstrong. Mosher. Armstrong. Bit unorthodox there, but the Sabres managed to keep it up. Trent Gooson hits it over. Kept by Cardenas to Mosher. Alexander Ford, big hit, kept alive by the Sabres. Bo. Gooson fielded up by Mosher. Armstrong to Calderon Castro. Bo. Calderon Castro doesn't put enough on it. I don't know if he got the wrong angle, if he just didn't anticipate how much force he was going to need. Cougars stop the Sabres 3-0 scoring run, get the point. And now Tyrese Armstrong back to serve for the Cougs, trying to cut the Sabre lead in half. Armstrong's serve is over. Calderon Castro recovers it, and a mistake there by Bo. It looks like Bo went for it initially and then didn't commit, because it looked like he thought, I believe that was Sjogren was going to come in and hit it himself and didn't want to accidentally get in the way of the hit. And unfortunately for Armstrong, that serve is going to be a little bit wide. And now the Cougars, the Sabres, the first ones to get to 20. And now they're just 5 points away from taking it here as Brion serves is over to Hoffman. Mosher, nice run and out of bounds. Hoffman went with it, but an absolutely monster block by Giancarlo. Bo and Luke Jones, they both went up for it, and they both sent it back straight at the Cougs. And now Marian, it's a 21-18 lead, serve is up. And a dump off by Mosher, kept alive by Calderon Castro. That was impressive. Cardenas to Mosher. Forward sends that one down. Calderon Castro made a good effort. Couldn't recover it that time, though. So the Sabres have a nice play to keep it alive once, but they don't have a nice play to keep it alive twice, as the Cougars manage to get the point. Forward service over, received by Kendrick to Bo. And that one's going to be sent out of bounds. Luke Jones tried to go for a big hit, just sent it a little bit too far to the left. And now it's a 21-20 ball game here. Forward serve is right into the net, and that is an absolute momentum killer for the Cougs. You cut the Sabre lead down to 1, and then you just unluckily send it into the net. Give possession back to the Sabres. As now Luke Jones is going to exit the game for number 20, Drake Dianovich. Dianovich back to serve. Serve gets over, hit by Cardenas to Mosher. J.R. Stella going all the way back. Weird play at the net, but the Cougs keep it up. Mosher. Hoffman. Hit up the back line by Dianovich. Bo. And a monster hit there by Trent Gooson. Mosher couldn't field it cleanly. And now the Sabres 2 points away from pulling off a nice comeback to take set number 1. Dianovich with the serve is up. Armstrong to Mosher. Oh, dump off by Mosher. Nice play, but Calderon Castro keeps it up. Trent Gooson. Hit up by Mosher. Marcin Hoffman going for the back corner. Fielded again by Dianovich to Bo. Trent Gooson taps it over. Hoffman again. Mosher. J.R. Stella sends it into the net. Looked to me like he just jumped a half second too late, and that affected the trajectory of his hit. And we're now sitting at set point as the Sabres up 24-20. It gets overhit up by Armstrong. Mosher. Hoffman. That's going to go off the arm of Giancarlo Bo. Cougars take the point, so they keep themselves alive a little bit more here in set number 1. Now, for the Cougars to take set number 1, or to not make it set point anymore, they need to score another 3 consecutive points, make it 24-24, or they can just score 5 straight to take set number 1. Mosher's serve is up and over to Bo. And that's a big hit there by Sjogren, just a little bit too long. Nice eye there by the Cougs to get out of the way. That one, they could tell that one had a little bit too much juice on it. Now again, Eli Mosher back to serve for the Cougs. He gets it up. Hit up. Bo. Trent goes unblocked at the line by the Cougs. Blocked at the line by J.R. Stella. That is an absolutely massive hit, and that's going to force Marian to call a timeout. Blake Badke in his second year as Sabres head coach saw the Cougs go on a 3-0 scoring run. They're just 1 point away from, again, removing it from being set point. He was like, okay, I got to call timeout now. Got to stop the Cougars' momentum. And wow, again, Cougars start the set off hot, but then Marian slowly but surely builds the way back up, takes a 4-point lead. They were up, again, 24-20. Cougars have rattled off 3 consecutive points, and now they're sitting. If they can get the next points, that will make it 24-24. And we'll be having some extra volleyball here in set number 1. And honestly, couldn't think of a better way to close out the season here, and actually close out Cougar broadcasting inside Geisman Gymnasium, as all that'll be left after this is the baseball and softball seasons. Speaking of softball, if you want to have some nice jumping back and forth between channels, Cougar baseball is currently live, so you're gonna hop into that if you want to have them. If you have 2 screens, have one playing on each. Have a nice full day of Cougar sports. Now both teams coming out of the timeout again. Eli Mosher back to serve for the Cougs, trying to secure this point and send a set 1 into a little bit of extra volleyball. Mosher's serve is up and over. Bo. Calderon Castro taps it up. Sent back by Reef. Mosher has to keep it up. J.R. Stella dumps it over. Calderon Castro to Bo. Trancuson blocked to the line, kept up by the Sabres. Nice play by Calderon Castro. Hit up by Cardenas. To Mosher. J.R. Stella sends us to extra volleyball. Cougars keeping themselves alive. We're at 24-24. Cougars on a 4-point streak. They said, hey, we're at set point. Doesn't matter. We'll just score 4 anyway. Now Eli Mosher back to serve. And that's going to be just a bit outside. Just a bit too far to the right. And now Sabres once again at set point with the opportunity to make this a very short amount of extra volleyball in set number 1. The man looking to seal the deal in set 1 for the Sabres is 25, Giancarlo Bo. Bo's serve is over, and Bo was a little bit too eager on that one. That was an absolute missile. That was almost to the half circle of the basketball court. And so now once again, Cougars have the opportunity to give themselves set points as Marcin Hoffman's serve is up and overhit. Calderon Castro with a nice tap. That was a beautiful execution there by Calderon Castro. As now a little bit of miscommunication there is Armstrong and Stella from the Cougs having a little bit of a heated discussion over which one should have been there to try to hit that ball off the Calderon Castro tip. But again, Sabres at that point hit up by Hoffman. Mosher. J.R. Stella hit up by Cardenas. Stella again. Sent to the back by Trent Trying to Kusan to Bo. Blocked to the line by the Cougs, but that is going to head out of bounds. The Cougars are going to fall in set number 1, 27-25 to the Marian Sabres. Cougars start off hot, but falter down the stretch, keep it alive, send it into extra volleyball. But in the end, the Sabres were able to get those last 2 points and pull away. The two teams switch sides. We too are going to take a break here on the Cougar Sports Network. But don't go anywhere because in just about 3 minutes or so, we have set 2 coming up. Welcome back here on the Cougar Sports Network as we prepare for set 2 of your Concordia Chicago Cougars versus the Marian Sabres. Sabres took set 1, coming back to win it 27-25, and it was a very evenly matched set. And if you want to tell that, just look at the stat sheet. Both teams had 13 kills. Both teams had 8 errors. Marian had a hitting percentage of .106. Cougars had a hitting percentage of .104. It was a very even match throughout. But one big stat you want to look at is the Cougars' 6 service errors to the Sabres 2. And that made a big difference because, again, Cougars, you get the ball, you have the opportunity to build momentum and keep scoring points. When you have a service error, you give the possession back to the other team, and the Sabres get a point. So it hurts you in 2 separate ways. Actually, that set 1 victory for Marian was their first set 1 win since the 21st of March. They lost 3 straight matches, 3-0. Service set up to Mosher. Still with the big hit, fielded by Kusan. Trent Kusan with the big hit. That one soars a little bit on him. Can't quite find the outside corner. And for the second set in a row, the Cougars strike first. Again, Sabres had been swept 3 straight times. That set 1 victory was big for them. Now J.R. Stella back to serve for the Cougs. His serve is right into the nets. Make it service error number 7 on the day for the Cougs. But, you know, on the bright side, it's a 1-0 game, 1-0 set before that, so you're not doing too much damage. Now Carter Sjogren serving up for the Sabres. His serve is going to get up, and oh, beautiful placement there by Sjogren. Armstrong ducked out of the way because he thought it was out, but that did a nice job there of straddling the line. So now the Sabres up 2-1. Sjogren's serve is over, hit up by Armstrong this time, but sent straight back over to the Sabres. Nice little dive there by Gusan. Hit up by Armstrong, and no one is there to recover it. J.R. Stella and Grayson Arndt were both looking at it, and they both watched it fall in between them. And now Carter Sjogren back again, serve for the Sabres, gets it over. Hoffman, big hit by Alexander Ford. That was an absolute power shot by Alexander Ford. He sent that one straight back to the Sabres, cut the Sabre lead in half. And now Tyrese Armstrong is back to serve for the Cougs. Power shot fielded by Kendrick. Calderon Castro, blocked to the line by the Cougs. But I believe they're going to call 4 hits on the Sabres, so the Cougars take a nice roll of the dot, get a nice break there, and they have now tied it at 3-3. Armstrong back again to serve for the Cougs. Armstrong serve gets over, fielded by Calderon Castro, goes straight up. Kendrick having to come back to meet it, almost a meeting of minds between him and Bo. Just hit straight back by Gusan. Alexander Ford kept alive by Bow. And wow, that was a really strong hit there by Juan Gomez. He almost sent that out of bounds on the basketball line. He was so eager to get that shot off. Cougars take their first lead since 1-0. Granted, not that many points, but again, Armstrong with the serve. And Armstrong sends it out of bounds for the second Cougar service error of the set. And you want to look at it, Marian has 4 points in set number 2. Half of those have come from Cougar service error. So if the Cougars want to pull back and end up winning this match, they're going to have to fix those. But Calderon Castro pays the Cougars back as his serve goes a little bit long. So the Cougars once again retake the lead at 5-4 as the two teams trade service errors. Alexander Ford back to serve. His serve is over, hit by Calderon Castro to Bo. Juan Gomez hits it up to Ford. Mosher, ooh, dump off by Mosher. Perfect placement there by Mosher. You want to talk about beautiful. Both Kendrick and I believe it was Gomez made nice dive attempts to keep it up, but they were not quite able to. As that serve gets over. Straight back, Calderon Castro. Bo. Gomez hits it up. As Hoffman with a dump off. Bo. Gomez, big hit. Hit up by Stella. Mosher. Stella. Oh, beautiful by J.R. Stella for a split second. It looked like he wasn't going to make it there, but he did and found a nice hole with just the tap over. Cougars pulling up to a 7-4 lead. Forward serve is into the net. Not to sound like a broken record, but again, 60% of the Sabres points here in set number 2 have come from Cougar service errors, which, again, if the Cougars can clean those up, they'll be good to go here. Because again, in set number 2, they've been rolling so far. And now Andrew Briones back to serve. Armstrong, Mosher. And a nice hit there by Marcin Hoffman. Got a nice little ricochet off the Sabre front line, and the Cougs build their lead back up to 8-5. And again, you remove those service errors, it's been a dominant start for the Cougs. And now Eli Mosher's back to serve. Mosher with the serve, hits it up, and oh, that's going to be a server's ace for the Cougs. As I believe, Trent Gooson tried, he received the serve, and his reception just went straight down. And now Mosher back to serve, trying to get the Cougars to double digits. Hit up to Bo. Blocked the line by the Cougs, kept alive by Briones. Mosher. Marcin Hoffman off the fingertips. Hit up by Bo. Briones. Gooson. Big block at the line, kept alive. Almost kept alive by the Cougs and Armstrong. Nice series of event there for the Cougs to keep the ball up. And now Luke Jones is going to exit the game for the Sabres, bringing in Drake Dianovich. And Dianovich will head straight back to serve for the Sabres to try to continue to cut into this Cougar lead. Dianovich's serve is over, hit up by Hoffman. To Mosher. Arif. Calderon Castro, nice field by Cardenas. Mosher. Hoffman. Kept up by Mosher. And that's just going to end up going over the net. And a nice tap there by Bo. Both Cardenas and Mosher dove for it. They weren't able to come up with it. And the Sabres, in turn, have been able to cut this Cougar lead to 2. Dianovich now back to serve for the Sabres. Serves over to Cardenas, to Mosher. J.R. Stella with the big hit off the fingertips, and that one is sent flying out of bounds. Cougars get the point. They're the first ones to double digits. They now take a 10-7 lead here in set number 2. And now, number 10 himself for the Cougs, Marcin Hoffman, back to serve. Hoffman with the serve, sent over. And that was just too much on the reception, sent straight back by the Cougar front line. And they take the nice point. It was just gifted to them. They send it straight back into the ground on the Sabres side. Now again, Hoffman is back to serve. Hit over, covered. And that one is going to go straight into the net for Calderon Castro. You can tell him he jumped up in the air, went for the big power shot, but his angle a little bit too low. And that is going to force the Sabres to call their first timeout here in set number 2. While the two teams take a break, so will everyone here on the Cougar Sports Network. But don't go anywhere because we will be right back. Welcome back here on the Cougar Sports Network. Cougars on a 3-0 scoring run as they lead the Marian Sabres 12-7 here in set number 2. They're just now joining us. The Sabres were able to take set number 1 with a nice comeback. Now the Cougars are attempting to pull away here in set number 2, and they're halfway to set number 2 victory. Again, man back serving for the Cougs right now will be number 10, Marcin Hoffman. Hoffman, a junior out of Inverness, Illinois. The serve gets up, covered up by Gomez. Big hit by Calderon Castro. Mosher keeps it up, kept it up by Hoffman. And just a meeting of the minds there between J.R. Stella and Ayaz Arif. Both of them went for it. And honestly, because it had to be a dump off for the Cougs, because it was hit number 3, you just had to get it over. You can't make like a big play, but If either one of them just fields it by themselves, they'd probably hit it back over, but due to the collision, it just goes into the ground. Saber serve gets over, hit up by Cardenas to Mosher. Tyrese Armstrong. Tap back over, Mosher to Cardenas. J.R. Stella just sends it a little bit too far, can't find pay dirt. And Marian able to score back-to-back points. Cut in a little bit to this Cougar lead. Giancarlo Bow serving for the Sabres, trying to get them to double digits. Bow serve is up. Cardenas to Mosher. J.R. Stella with a big hit again to the back line. To Bow. Calderon Castro. Calderon Castro sends it right past Marcin Hoffman. Hoffman tried to make a play on it. It just went straight past him. Sabres go on a 3-0 run of their own to cut the Cougar lead down to 2. Bow now back to serve for the Sabres. And his serve goes directly into the net. So the Cougars got to break their own, cut off of the 3-0 Sabre run due to a Sabre service error. And now Ayaz Arif back to serve for the Cougs. His serve is up, fielded up by Gusan, hit up by Mosher. Hoffman. J.R. Stella butted the line by the Sabres. Calderon Castro to Bow. To Sjogren. To Arif. To Mosher. To J.R. Stella, sent back, and that's gonna go out off the ricochet. Cougars got a nice ricochet bounce off the J.R. Stella hits, and they're now up 14-10. Managed to regrow that lead after the Sabres cut it to 2. Arif's serve is over. Hit up by Bow. Called on Castro. What a rocket. You don't see that too often, just straight off the chest of Mosher. Hit back over. Arif. Mosher had a split-second opportunity there. Tried to keep it up. Got a little bit of help from the underside of the basketball hoop, but couldn't quite stretch far enough to send the ball backwards. Nice effort, though, by Mosher nonetheless. As Trent Gusan back to serve for the Sabres. Gusan serves over to Hoffman, to Mosher. Tyrese Armstrong. And they're going to say that one is off a deflection for the Sabres. So the Cougars, first one to hit 15, 10 points away from a set 2 victory. J.R. Stella now back to serve. He's going to ask for a new ball kindly. He's going to get the ball back. So J.R. Stella going back to serve again with ball number 1. His serve is over. Kept it by Gusan. Hit up by that was Mosher. Alexander Ford sent that into the face of Bow. Bow, nice job recovering from it, but the Sabres couldn't keep the ball up. Cougars get a lead back to 5, and honestly, Trent Gusan, I believe that was, just kind of took that off his face. J.R. Stella now serving. Fielded by Trent Gusan. Bow. To Sjogren, and Sjogren's big hit going to be just a little bit too far. Cougars get the point. They've now built themselves up a 17-11 lead. Got another 3-0 scoring run here. Stella is now back to serve. To Trent Gusan, and that's going to go straight back over. The big hit by Armstrong was blocked by the Sabre line, but just went straight all the way out of bounds. Cougars get the point. That's going to force the Sabres to call their second and final timeout here in set number 2. And it's been a bit of a hectic set. The Cougars got on a 4-0 scoring run here. And coming out of that last timeout the Sabres called, things looked like they were improving. They got back-to-back points. It was back-to-back points. They cut the Cougar lead from 5-2. But since then, the Cougars have been pulling away. They got a 4-0 scoring run going right now. They're up 18-11. And, you know, one big thing, you just look at it, is the hitting percentage. Cougars got a .167 hitting percentage. Sabres are sitting at .056, which You know, 9 times out of 10, you have an 0.56 hitting percentage. You're probably not going to win the set. So if the Sabres want to pull off a comeback here, they're going to have to get that hitting percentage up. They're going to have to stop sending as many of their hits out of bounds or into the net. And again, part of that has been due to the Cougars have just been doing a great job hitting some difficult balls for the Sabres to field. You know, they had some nice hits where the Sabres have just been had to lunge forward or dive and just try to get their arms out to keep the ball up. And more often than not, the Sabres haven't quite been able to do that. And that's what's helped build this Cougars lead here. This J.R. Stella is back to serve for the Cougs. Stella's serve gets over, and that's going to be on the back line. Beautiful serve by J.R. Stella. Marian just watched it go by. They thought it was out, but Stella clipped the line, and if you're Blake Badke, that is not what you want to see for the Sabres right out of the timeout. And that's also not what you want to see coming out of a timeout. Kendrick's reception went straight back to the Cougs, and Alexander Ford made him pay for it. Just a missile of a hit. Called on Castro, got his arms up, but just because of the angle, the ball went straight into the crowd as the Cougars first ones to 20. And the Sabres finally managed to stop the bleeding and stop the Cougars' 6-0 scoring run as J.R. Stella's serve is just a little bit long. Makes it the 10th service error of the day for the Cougs. Carter Sjogren serving for the Sabres. He gets it up. Marcin Hoffman. Eli Mosher making a trek for it. Tyrese Armstrong with the tap, blocked. Hit up again by Mosher. Tyrese Armstrong taps it again. Ford sends it right over. And that was just a bit of an errant touch there by Ford. You saw him lift his hand in responsibility for it. Well, on his attempt to just keep the ball up, it went up in an angle, which meant the Sabres were able to just hit it right back to the Cougs, who didn't have time to recover. Carter Sjogren serving again. Hit up by Armstrong to Ford. Armstrong blocked to the line by the Sabres. Hit up again by Ford. Armstrong again. Bit of a higher arc this time to Bowe. And a nice duck there by the Cougars. Is number 7, Juan Gomez, had a nice power shot there, but the Cougars, J.R. Stella was able to hit the deck and get his hands down and let that one just soar over his head and get possession back to the Cougs. Is now Tyrese Armstrong, hoping to get the Cougs. Armstrong's serve is over. Bit on the dives there, but Gomez blocked to the line by the Cougs. Hit up again by Gusan. Gomez again blocked to the line by the Cougs. Bowe. Gomez blocked at the line again by the Cougs. Block, block, block. Back to back to back. Cougars now have a 22-13 point lead. They are just 3 points away from tying it up 1-1. And again, the Sabres just kept going for the light touches, and the Cougars just block and block and block again and again and again. Now Armstrong back to serve. Hits it over to Calderon Castro. To Bowe. And a very nice hit there by Luke Jones on the Sabres. Just a really strong hit. Saw there was a patch of ground there where the Cougars weren't covering, and was able to make him pay for leaving that area open. But again, Sabres got a lot of ground to make up if they want to come back here in set 2. Calderon Castro's serve is over, and that's not how you pull off a comeback, as Calderon Castro's serve goes directly into the net. And the Cougars now just 2 points away from a set 2 victory. Alexander Ford is back to serve for the Cougars. His serve is beautiful serve, clips the back corner. Calderon Castro just watched it go by, and I want to say that's at least the second or third serve here in set 2, where the Cougars have just had beautiful placement on the back line. Ford serve gets over to Kendrick. Bowe. Gomez blocked to the line by the Cougs. Kendrick can't keep it up. Cougars take set number 2 in dominant fashion, 25-14. They tie it up 1-1. And now the two teams are going to switch sides. And again, as the two teams take a break to switch sides, we will also take a break here on the Cougar Sports Network. But don't go anywhere. We'll be back in just about 3 minutes. Or if you want something to do for 3 minutes, hop on, go watch the men's baseball team as they're in action right now. But come back here in 3 minutes because then we will be at set number 3. Welcome back here to Geisman Gymnasium on the Cougar Sports Network as we are getting ready for set number 3 between the Marian Sabres and your Concordia University Chicago Cougars. And Cougars pulled a set 2 win in dominant fashion, 25-14. Ended the set on a 3-point run. And again, they were just a very strong team in set number 2, and you want to look at some of the reasons why. They had 8 errors in set number 1. In set 2, they were able to clean that up and only have 3 compared to the Sabres' 7. And then, hitting percentage. Sabres had a negative .032 hitting percentage. Meanwhile, the Cougars, .276. So you look at a contrast like that, that explains a lot. But it was, again, the Cougars were able to hit difficult balls there. And now Aiz Arif, serve is over to start set 3. Blocked to the line by the Cougs. Hit up by Bo. Caught on Castro. Big hit, and that's going to clip the back line. And for the first time today, the Sabres strike first in a set. It's the Cougars that scored first in both sets 1 and 2, but Sabres getting themselves off on the right foot here and trying to recover from set 2 as Trent Guson is now back to serve for the Sabres. Serve is over to Armstrong. Mosher. Alexander Ford gets it over. Guson. To Hoffman. Mosher, Alexander Ford sends it straight off Bo's arm and back. Cougars get on the board. Make it 1-1 here in set number 3. And again, we've seen that when the Cougars have been able to concentrate those big shots, that's when they've been able to shine. They've been able to cause problems for the Sabre defense. J.R. Stella's serve is over. Hit up by Bo. Try to dump off by Sjogren and Cardenas. It looked like he was on track for it at first, but then it looked like Sjogren's hit kind of just barely tapped the top of the net. That affected the trajectory, which sends it away from Cardenas, which meant he wasn't able to make a play on it. As now Sjogren is back to serve for the Sabres. And he's going to send that one straight into the net. That was just, looked like he just didn't get the right angle. Looked like it almost been off his wrist as that ball just went straight line drive into the net. It's now Tyrese Armstrong back to serve for the Cougs. Going to give them their first lead of the set. And that one's just going to be a little bit long. So the two teams trade service errors, and the Sabres retake the lead at 3-2. Now Adrian Calderon Castro will take the serve for the Sabres. Overhit by Hoffman. Mosher. Alexander Ford blocked at the line by the Sabres. Nice play there. Cardenas. Hoffman with a hit over. Hit at the back line by Guson. Tebow. Calderon Castro. Nice shot there by Adrian Calderon Castro. He finds the back line of the Cougar defense. And, you know, give a quick shout out to Calderon Castro. He leads the Sabres coming into today. He had 285 kills, a 237 hitting percentage. Service up, hit by Hoffman. Mosher dumped off by Mosher. Beautiful placement and decision there by Mosher. As you can tell in that situation where Hoffman's was almost over, you normally expect, oh, Mosher just tap it up central to the Cougs. He let a big hit there. But no, Mosher zigged when the Sabres thought it was going to zag. Forward service over, fielded by Calderon Castro, and that's going to go into the Sabre bench. Cougars get some back-to-back points. Tie it up once again here at 4-4. And now Alexander Ford's coming back. Forward serve is a little bit long. You can tell he really wanted to get another service ace there. Instead, has to settle for a service error as Sabres duck out of the way of that one and retake the lead. Andrew Briones now serving for the Sabres. Briones, the senior out of Villa Park, Illinois. Briones serves up, hit by Hoffman. Mosher. Hoffman again. That's goes straight up off the ceiling, and wow. Kendrick and Briones both tried to get there for it. I'd anticipated what happened on that one was, you know, you hit the ball straight up. You expect it to kind of, you know, make a slow loop down. What happened was, because Calderon Castro's hit went straight up into the ceiling, the ball came straight down harder than the Sabres were expecting. Serve is up to Bo. Blocked in the line by the Cougs. And I think they're going to call Hoffman in the net for that one, or might have been a reach over the net on the block attempt there. So again, two teams just kind of trading points here at this point. Drake Dianovich serving for the Sabres now. Hoffman, Mosher. Hoffman again, blocked the line by the Sabres. Hit up by Armstrong to Mosher. Hoffman again blocked the line to Cardenas. To Mosher. And just a different hit there. Guson with the big hit. Gets the ricochet off Hoffman's arm. Sends it out of bounds. Sabres finally snap the trade point, and get their lead up to 2. Drake Dianovich back to serve. Serves over to Cardenas. Mosher makes a long jog to get there. J.R. Stella going coast to coast. Guson's hit. Armstrong to Mosher. To Stella, nice little tap there, called on Castro. To Bo. To Guson. Nice hit there by Guson. He put it in a spot. And then Mosher really had to dive for it. And as a result, he wasn't able to quite reach it, and the Sabres be able to lead up to 3. Dianovich's serve is over, and Dianovich's serve is going to be a little bit too over as it goes soaring out of bounds. Cougars stop the Sabres 3-0 scoring run with a point of their own. And now Marcin Hoffman back to serve for the Cougs. Has one service ace on the day already. Sends it to Trent Gusan hit straight up by Armstrong to Mosher. J.R. Stella trying to go coast to coast, side to side with it. Didn't quite work out like he was expecting. Bounced down right in front of our desk down here. Now the Sabres with a 9-6 lead. Giancarlo Bo serving for the Sabres. And that one is going to go straight into the net. Bo had a lot of strength behind that one, but it was just a line drive of a serve. So the Cougars get position back as Ayaz Arif is now serving. Arif's serve is over and is just a little bit too much to the left. So the two teams, for the second time this set, trade service errors as the Sabres are the first ones to double digits. They are holding on to a 10-7 lead. As Trent Gusan is back to serve. Serves Hoffman to Mosher. To Sella. To Gusan. To Bo. Calderon Castro to Bo. Calderon Castro with a heat seeker straight at Michael Cardenas. Is all Cardenas could do to try to recover, but in the end, he wasn't able to make any type of play. Sabres get their lead up to 4. Gusan serve to Armstrong, up to Mosher. J.R. Stella with a big hit, splits the difference between Gusan and Kendrick. Cougars managed to make a dent on the Sabres lead. J.R. Stella, the one that just scored that big hit there, is now back to serve. Stella's serve clips the top of the net, but gets over. Hit up by Bo. Calderon Castro just kind of dumps it over to Mosher. Alexander Ford just wanted a little bit too badly. Little bit too much sauce on that one. Now Carter Sjogren serving for the Sabres, trying to give themselves a little bit more distance from the Cougs. Armstrong to Mosher. Armstrong getting off the fingertips of Calderon Castro. To Bo. To Gusan. Kept up by Cardenas. Nice play. Mosher. Armstrong. Bo. Trent to Gusan. To Calderon Castro. Nice play by Calderon Castro. Gusan just tabbed it up for him, and Calderon Castro put just enough damage on us that the Cougars weren't able to find where it was going to land, and that's going to force Cougars coach Greg Manos to call his first timeout of the set. And while the two teams take a short break, we're going to take a short break here too on the Cougar Sports Network, but don't go anywhere because we will be right back. Welcome back to the Cougar Sports Network as the Marian Sabres try to keep up the dominant stretch they were on here in set number 3. Cougars calling timeout to try to kill off the Sabres' momentum. And Sabres again built up a 13-8 lead over the Cougars. I want to say it's their largest lead of the day in any set. So now Carter Sjogren is back to serve. His serve is up. Hit up by Hoffman to Mosher. Tyrese Armstrong blocked to the line by Calderon Castro. Hit up again by Mosher. Blocked to the line by the Cougs. Sent straight up. Ford tunnels under it to Mosher. To Ford, straight at the head of Calderon Castro. I think he got his hands up just in time, but again, there's no recovering from a hit like that by Calderon Castro. That was a big shot. Blake Badke checking on his player to make sure he's all right as Yeah, that was a strong hit. But also for the Cougs, that's exactly what you want to see coming out of a timeout. You want to get the crucial points. You want to get momentum on your side. So now Tyrese Armstrong is back to serve. His serve is overfielded by Kendrick. Big hit there by Luke Jones as Cougars weren't able to feel it. Was just right off the fingertips. So now Adrian Calderon Castro coming back to serve. Straight up by Hoffman to Mosher. Hoffman, and they're going to call Hoffman as being over the line on the reach. You can tell he really wanted that one, and now Mosher is going to exit the game. Is entering for the first time today. Mosher enters the game. And Calderon Castro's serve is just a little bit too strong. Soars just a little bit too much. So the Cougars hit double digits. Cutting into the Sabre lead, making it 15-10 as Alexander Ford's back to serve. Serve is up. And a nice hit, I believe, by Bo. Gets past the Cougar front line. They're not able to recover it. So it hits the ground, and the Sabres are now up 16-10. And at this point, if you're the Sabres, as you got Andrew Briones going back to serve, you're content to trade points, because trading points with the Cougs means you're going to take a 2-1 set lead. Hit up by Hoffman. Mosher. Hoffman again. Nice play to get it back by Bo. Armstrong. Mosher. J.R. Stella gets the ricochet off number 3, Trent Gruson. So the Cougars get the point there. Now again, the Cougars trailing by 5. They want to get back in this set. Again, they cannot trade points with the Sabres. They're going to have to go on a run themselves. Mosher's serve is into the net. Unfortunately, that's not going to help as the Sabres take possession back. Luke Jones exits the match while Drake Dianovich is now coming back in to serve for the Sabres. Dianovich's service over to Cardinez to Mosher. Big hit by Ayaz Arif. That was a nice hit there. That was just perfect placement there by Arif. He got it. Want to say, I think it was Briones tried to make a reach for it, but wasn't able to quite come up with it. Hoffman's service over. And that one is sent straight out by Briones. Combination of kinetic energy on that hit sent it 3 rows from the top of the far side bleachers. Then we see balls go into the bleachers on a semi-regular occasion. It's not often you see him get that high up. Briones hits it up to Bo, to Trent Gruson, and a nice hit. I believe they're going to say it was off the pin/flag. So Cougars get a nice break there off the Trent Gruson hit. Now again, Marcin Hoffman's back to serve. Service over to Briones, to Bo. Calderon Castro's blocked in the net by the Cougs. Kendrick. Bo. Nice play there by Bo. He split Mosher, and Hoffman cuts off the 3-0 Cougs scoring run. Gets the Sabre lead back up to 4. And now going back to serve for the Sabres is number 25, Giancarlo Bo. And that one's going to go straight into the net. Ricochet off the head of Adrian Calderon Castro. And now Arif will exit the match, and entering, I believe, for the first time today is Ildu Damasino for the Cougs. Damasino's first serve is up and over. Briones just hits it up. Mosher. J.R. Stella hits it to Bo. To Kendrick. Calderon Castro. Blocked to the line by the Cougs. Big block by Stella and Ford. sends it back to the Sabres, and Cougs, brick by brick there, getting themselves back in. This is now Damasceno is serving again. Damasceno serves up and over to Kendrick, to Calderon Castro, to Gusan, hit up and back by Mosher, kept alive by Damasceno. Hoffman just has to get it back over to Briones, to Bo, to Gusan. Nice hit by Gusan. He just taps it off the fingertips of the Cougar front line. Gets the Sabre lead up to 3 now. It's number 7, Juan Gomez, will now enter back into the match for the Sabres. Trent Gusan's serve is over, filled by Armstrong. Mosher, big hit by Ford. Kept alive by Mosher again. Cardenas just has to hit it over. Up by Bo. Calderon catcher, big hit off the fingertips, kept up by Cardenas. To Mosher. Marcin Hoffman with the big hit, sends it off the outstretched right arm of Giancarlo Bo. Cougars are keeping it close. So big back and forth here by both teams. Now J.R. Stella is headed back to serve for the Cougs. Trying to get it to just a 1-point Sabre lead. Stella's serve is very wide right. So the Sabres are the first ones to 20. And again, we've seen the Cougars struggle with service errors today. That is going to be their 15th one throughout the day. It's an average right now of over 5 a set, as we're not yet finished with set number 3. But Sjogren serves, and a nice serve there by Sjogren. Armstrong watched it go by. He thought it was headed out. That is going to force Concordia coach Craig Manos to call his second time out, as the Sabres now just 4 points away from going up 2-1. So while the teams regroup, we're going to take a short break here on the Cougar Sports Network. Welcome back here on the Cougar Sports Network. As the two teams enter the Cougars timeout, the Sabres sitting with a 21-17 lead here in set 3 of the Sabres, so they can get together 4 more points. They will go into set number 4 up 2-1, looking to increase their winning streak over the Cougs. Carter Sjogren now back to serve for the Sabres. The serve gets over, hit up by Hoffman. To Mosher. Dump off by Mosher. Beautiful placement. Giancarlo Bo saw it was coming, tried to react, but a little bit too little, too late. And again, it's exactly what you want to see come out of a timeout if you're the Cougs. You want to see your team get some points, get some momentum on their side. Armstrong service over to Kendrick, to Bo, to Gusan, Stella, Mosher. Hoffman tipped up at the line by the Sabres. To Mosher again. J.R. Stella with the big hit. Can't pull it in. Stella's arguing for a tip. But the refs see it differently, as it's going to be a point Sabres. Calderon Castro's hit is up. Mosher. Alexander Ford with the big hit. Received by Gusan. Calderon Castro. Big hit, going to be out of bounds. Near side referee had to duck out of the way. It hit right at his foot. And now Yazarif's going to re-enter the set for the Cougs as number 8, Alexander Ford, is back to serve. Ford serves over to Kendrick, to Bo. Gusan kept up. Stella just has to get it over the net. Gusan to Bo. Gusan there, hit at the line by the Cougs. And Alexander Ford, despite his running, can't quite reach it. Now the Sabres sitting just 2 points away from winning set number 3. So now Andrew Briones is back to serve, trying to get the Sabres to set point. Hit up by Armstrong, to Mosher, to Hoffman. Nice hit there. Stella bouncing all over right at the net, hit up by Stella, to Mosher. Armstrong, just a weird hit there by the Cougs, but the Sabres keep it up. Goosen with the big hit. Armstrong, that's going to go up into the bleachers, and now the Sabres are at 24-19, and so if the Cougars want to force some extra volleyball here in set number 3, they're going to have to go on a 5-0 run. They're going to have to get the ball out of the hands of the server, Andrew Briones. It's up by Hoffman to Mosher. Dump off by Mosher, but it's fielded by Calderon Castro to Bo. Calderon Castro with the hits. Calderon Castro sends it straight into the net. So, Cougars stay alive for at least one more point here in set 3, as it's now 24-20. And you got Eli Mosher here back to serve for the Cougs. Hit up by Gusan to Bo. Bounce all around, hit up by Kendrick. Gusan with the hit, and that's going to be all she wrote here in set 3. Trent Gusan sends the big hit straight back to the Cougars. Cougars can't come up with it, and so the Sabres take a 2-1 lead into set number 4. They have momentum on their side, looking to keep their winning streak against the Cougs going. Make it so that by this time next year, the Cougs will have a 7-year drought from beating the Sabres. But again, it's not over until you play the set. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back in 3 minutes here on the Cougar Sports Network. Welcome back here on the Cougar Sports Network as we are getting prepared for set number 4. York and Corday University Chicago Cougars are trailing the Marian Sabres 2-1. Bit of a back and forth day. You know, Cougars started off strong in set 1. Sabres came back, but it was a very close set. It was a 27-25 Sabre lead. Then Cougars very dominant in set 2, 25-14. Then the Sabres, I mean, they only beat the Cougs by 5 in set number 3, but they were in control for essentially the entire set before winning 25-20. So Cougars, again, trying to keep some momentum, trying to get some momentum and keep their season alive for at least one more set. Trent Guson's serve is up. Armstrong hit up by Mosher. And a big hit there, kept up. Nice play to keep it up. Bow, Armstrong, Mosher, and a nice hit by Alexander Ford. He gets the big hit to put the Cougars on the board. And now, entering for, I believe, the first time today, back to serve, number 12 for the Cougs, Tate Johnson. Johnson service up and over. That was weird. Don't know how to describe that. Kept back up, though. And it's going to be Cougars point as they're going to call a double hit there on the Sabres. And I believe they were going to call it on number 7, Juan Gomez for the Sabres. Just a bit of a ricocheting all over before it popped over. Johnson's serve is a little bit too far, so the Sabres get on the board here in set 4, courtesy of yet another Cougar service error, making it 16 on the day for the Cougs. Carter Sjogren served for the Sabres, trying to tie it up. Armstrong to Mosher. Alexander Ford with the big hit. Gomez tried to, what Gomez did was able to get in front of him, but there was just too much space between Gomez and the net so that the ball hit Gomez and went straight into the net and down. Tyrese Armstrong back to serve for the Cougs. It's up. Guson called on catch, catches it right on the out-of-bounds line. Kendrick hits it up. And Kendrick just sends it out of bounds. Angled it a bit too much to the left. Cougars building themselves a little 4-1 lead here. Tyrese Armstrong now back to serve for the Cougs. It's straight up by Calderon Castro, and that's going to end up going out. Difficult to tell for a moment. You couldn't see it behind the NAC conference banners here. Speaking of the NAC, both teams capping off their 2026 NAC campaigns here. Closing off their 2026 NAC campaigns here. And Tyrese Armstrong sends that serve into the net, meaning that for the 2 Sabres points in set 4, both of them have come from Cougar service errors. Now, we saw a lot of that in set number 2 early, but the Cougars were able to get control of that, and that was what allowed them to end up having a pretty dominant set 2 victory. So, Mosher, big hit by Ford, and that's just gonna clip the line. Ford pulled in everyone to the front line and then was able to just get it past them to where there was no one, hit it right off the line. And speaking of Ford, he'll now go back to serve for the Cougs. His service hit. Calderon Castro, big hit of his own. Answers and sends it right back at Ford. And now Gomez will exit the match for the Sabres, while number 4, Andrew Briones, re-enters to serve for the Sabres. Briones' serve is up and over. To Armstrong, to Mosher, and it just goes straight down at the net on the side of the Sabres. Mosher with a nice play there. And now Eli Mosher back to serve for the Cougars. It's over to Guson. Ooh, Bo tried to dump it off. Cougars were ready for it. Bo hits it back again. Blocked at the line, tipped up by Jones. Mosher Tyrese Armstrong to Kendrick to Bo. Mosher. Hoffman blocked to the line by the Sabres. Big block there by number 14, Luke Jones. And actually, I believe they're going to overturn that and say that a Sabre player was in the net. So that's going to end up being a Cougars point upon the successful appeal by Cougar coach Greg Manos. As now Adrian Calderon Castro is speaking his case to the far side official. Deliberating what the correct call is, and it's going to remain Cougar point there. So Cougars now build a 5-point lead as Eli Mosher is again back to serve for the Cougs. Mosher serves up, hit up by Kendrick. DeBow. Big hit there by Trent Guson. Hits it, I believe, right off the arm of Tate Johnson for the Cougs. So Sabres get that point, and they get possession back as Drake Dianovich is now back to serve for the Sabres. Dianovich's serve is up. Ooh, Trent straight over by Hoffman, just the errant hit. Trent Guson made the Cougars pay for that. And that's what happened is if you accidentally send the ball over on that first hit, you don't get everyone on your side set and ready to execute the plan. So that leaves you liable, leaves you open for the other team to do some damage. Now it's up off Mosher. Johnson blocked the line by the Sabres, and that is going to hit the ground. This ball's going to bounce all the way back up here into the rows. And now the Sabres have cut that 4-point Cougar lead in half. Sorry, 5-point Cougar lead in half. It is just 8-6 now. Dianovich's serve is up. Hoffman, Mosher. Hoffman with the big shot off the deflection of Trent Guson. Cougars cut off the 3-0 Sabre scoring run. Gives themselves a 9-6 lead as Marcin Hoffman is now back to serve. Up by Bo. It's covered by Hoffman. Cardinez. Armstrong taps it over. Guson. Bo. And that's a beautiful hit there by Adrian Calderon. Castro just splits it past the Cougar defense. That's just a very well-executed play design there by Castro, who's just able to put the ball perfectly into the Cougar gap. This is now Giancarlo Bo serving for the Sabres. It's up to Cardinez. To Mosher. Tyrese Armstrong with a big hit. Hit up by Kendrick. To Bo. Blocked at the line by the Cougs! Absolutely massive block, and the ricochet goes the Cougars' way. Cougars, the first one to hit double digits as they are leading the Sabres 10-7 here in set 3. Now we got Tate Johnson going back to serve for the Cougars. His serve is going to get over to Briones, to Bo. Calderon Castro's hit is blocked at the line, but is sent straight left for a Sabre point. And now Johnson's going to exit the match, as will Ayaz Arif for the Cougs as Michael Cardinez re-enters. And as Trent Guson steps back to serve for the Sabres. Guson's serve is up. Mosher to Armstrong, and just left. You can tell that Armstrong was trying to get it past the reach of Bo. He's trying to paint it right on the line, and it just hooked a little bit too much to the left. Sabres now only trailing by 1. Guson's serve is over. Hoffman to Mosher. To Johnson. Big hit. Head up by Kendrick. Back up. Mosher. Big hit there by Alexander Ford. He gets it past the outstretched arms of the Sabres. Gets it back to a 2-point Cougar lead. As now Tate Johnson will step back to serve. It's been a very close match. It's been very evenly paced here through set number 4. Johnson service up and over. Bow. One goal misses, blocked at the line by the Cougs. Alexander Ford comes up for it with a beautiful rejection, sends it straight back. Cougars slowly rebuilding their lead. Again, Tate Johnson is now back to serve for the Cougs. Gets over to Kendrick, to Bow. Sjogren to Cardinez. Mosher tracks it down. Armstrong doesn't put enough on it. Looked like he might have not timed the jump quite right, which meant the ball just quite didn't get over the net. Sends possession to the Sabres, and the Sabres are now officially in the double digits. They are trailing the Cougars 12-10. Carter Sjogren back to serve for the Sabres. Sjogren serves over to Hoffman. Two teams hit it right at the line, and I believe they're going to call Eli Mosher in the net on the Cougs. And that's going to make it a 12-11 Cougar lead. Sabres are pulling off a nice little comeback here as Carter Sjogren is back to serve. His serve is over to Cardinez, to Mosher. Alexander Ford, and it's right off the fingertips of the Sabre front line and out to Cougars. Answer with another point of their own. You know, it's the last match of the season. Both the teams are eliminated from the NAC tournament contention, but both teams, you want the win to go into the offseason with the W, and both teams have 3-match losing streaks. Armstrong serve is over, fielded by Kendrick. Sent straight back over by Marcin Hoffman. Kendrick's reception was just a little bit too up and over due to the hits from Armstrong's serve, and Hoffman made him pay. Tyrese Armstrong serve is up, clips the top of the net, hit by Calderon Castro. Calderon Castro and is able to hit it ricochet off the arms of the Cougs. Neither team here in set 4, since the Cougars were up 8-3, have been able to go on consistent runs. Cougars went on a run early, Sabres answered with a run, and since then we've been very much deadlocked within this 2 to 3 point area. Calderon Castro hits it to Cardinez, to Mosher. Alexander Ford with another big hit and a ricochet. And the Cougars are the first ones to 15. They're up 15-10 on the Sabres. Alexander Ford now back to serve. Ford leads everyone in kills, but will unfortunately add a service error to his stat column, as that one is just a touch too much to the left. Gives the ball right back to the Sabres. Again, Alexander Ford and Adrian Calderon Castro both tied with 13 kills, followed closely by J.R. Saw with 11 and Trent Guson with 10. Now Andrew Briones is back to serve as Drake Danovich will enter in place of Luke Jones for the Sabres. Briones' service over to Hoffman. Mosher. Ooh, Arif gets the deflection. Nice play there by Ayaz Arif. Nice shot placement. That was perfect. Don't know how much better you can ask for. Honestly, Ayaz Arif re-enters the game, re-enters the set, immediately makes an impact for the Cougs. Now Eli Mosher's serve is up and over, and again, the Cougars have a serve that just goes a little bit too high. That's going to make it service error number 19 on the day for the Cougars, which is, you know, a little bit more service errors than you would like to have in a match. But, you know, you build off what you can. As Drake Danovich back to serve for the Sabres. It's over. Hit off. Hoffman. Cardinez is tracking it down. Nice play to track it down. Armstrong's just going to have to hit it over, which he does. To Danovich. Bow. And that shot by Carter Shogun is just a little bit wide. You saw there was a nice little gap there on the floor, but in his attempts to angle it right, just put a little bit too much on it, send it out of bounds. And again, Cougars and Sabres just bouncing around a 2 to 3 point lead. Arsen Hoffman gets it over. Djanovic to Bo. Nice play by Mosher to keep it up. Hoffman just has to get it back over. Bo. Trent Guson. Massive hit at the lines by Tate Johnson. Cougars send it right back. And that massive hit is going to force the Sabres to call their first timeout here in set 4. The Cougars are up 18 to 14. They're sitting just 7 points away from forcing set number 5. And so these two teams are going to take a quick break. We will too here on the Cougar Sports Network. But don't go anywhere. We'll be back here in just a minute with more set 4 action. Welcome back here on the Cougar Sports Network as your Concordia Chicago Cougars are holding an 18 to 14 lead here in set 4 over the Marian Sabres. Cougars trying to force a set 5. Hoffman's serve is up and over, fielded. Nice recovery by Mosher. Armstrong keeps it alive. Cardenas gets it over, but it gets it a little bit too much over as that goes all the way over and out. This team's now checking on Armstrong. Looked like he had a hard fall there into the front row of the bleachers. I mean, it was a heck of a play by Armstrong to keep the ball up, but he did very much just kind of crash head and neck first down. But seems to be walking it off, seems to be okay, which is, you're glad to see. You don't want to see anyone take a bit of a rough hit like that. Looks like Greg Mouse is communicating with Ralph. Armstrong might have just landed right on his throat and had the wind knocked out of him for a bit. But he'll stay here in the set as now the Sabres have Giancarlo Bo back to serve, trying to cut into the Sabre lead. Cardenas to Mosher. Ayaz Arif kept alive by the Sabres. Nice play. Bo has to get it over, which he does. Cardenas to Mosher. And a beautiful hit there by Marcin Hoffman. Gets it right past the Sabres. A beautiful hit there by Hoffman. He just came back for a moment. It looked like, oh, maybe Ayaz Arif is going to be the one to take the hit, but then Hoffman comes up from the back with a big hit there. Now Tate Johnson back to serve for the Cougs. Big hit there. Sabres get the point. Apologies, that was not Tate Johnson. That was Ildu Damasino serving for the Cougs there. So now Trent Guson will serve for the Cougs, as Andrew Jonas will not enter at this moment. Trent Guson back to serve for the Sabres. Hoffman, Mosher, Armstrong. Armstrong puts too much juice on it. Sabres now only trailing the Cougars by 2, 19-17. Again, since the Sabres went on a run to make it close, neither team's been able to go on a run since. Hoffman to Mosher. And that's going to be nice recovery there. He's going to just barely get over. And I believe they're going to call Mosher over the net for that one. And that's going to force the Cougars to call their first timeout here of the set, as the Sabres are now just trailing by 1. Built up a 3-0 run here. Was 19-15, now just 19-18. And again, Coach Manos of the Cougs trying to cut off the Sabres' momentum, trying to get the Cougs to just get 6 more points, so we'll be sent to a final set number 5. And honestly, I think that'd be a perfect way to end the, not only the men's volleyball season, but also the indoor season here at Geisman Gymnasium again. This is the last men's volleyball game of the season, which means we'll be done inside Geisman Gymnasium. Everything else will be from the Cougar softball field or Cougar Stadium for baseball. So it'd be nice to send Geisman Gymnasium out for the year with a fun, full 5 sets of volleyball, preferably with a Cougar victory. And now, again, at this moment, the big concerns if you're Coach Manos is what you're looking at is, the Cougars have been playing cleaner volleyball when it comes to attack errors. Marian's got 25 to the Cougs 21. The big one, though, is that, again, Cougs are almost doubling up the Sabres on service errors. Sabres have 10, Cougars have 19. And down the stretch here, where you're so neck and neck, you cannot afford to have any service errors if you're the Cougs, or if you're either team, really. Gooson service over. Mosher. Hoffman! Oh, nice play by Gooson to keep it up. Blocked to the line by the Cougs. Bo. Calderon Castro hits it up. Cardenas. Tracked down by Mosher. Blocked to the line by the Sabres. Mosher goes back for it. Armstrong hits it over. Gooson hits it up to Bo. To Gomez hits it up. Mosher. Ford kept up by the Sabres. Ford. Mosher. Ford kept up by the Sabres again. Hoffman goes back for it. Mosher. And that's going to end. Johnson just put too much on it. It was a great volley. Johnson saw the open back corner. He tried to find it. Just too strong. And we are now at a tied 19-19 set 4. Houston service up. Johnson serve. Nice play to keep it up by the Sabres. To Bo. To Gomez. Hoffman kept it up. Mosher. Armstrong. And that's going to go, go, go. Sabres get a nice break from the conference banners. Mosher. And that one is going to ricochet around, and the Sabres get helped by the Geisman Gymnasia one time, but the second time it proves to be their undoing, as that one shot by the Cougs, it looked like it was going to head out of bounds, but it bounced, I believe, off the Concordia, Wisconsin conference banner, so the Sabres were able to reposition and hit over, but then that time, that hit went straight off the ceiling, bounced away from the Sabres. Johnson service up and over. Head up. Hoffman. Mosher. Alexander Ford. And that's going to be a Cougar point. I didn't see exactly what the call there was. I want to say maybe it was a Sabre player in the net, but nevertheless, that is going to force Sabre coach Blake Badke to take his second and final timeout of set number 4. So all these two teams actually, no, we'll just stay here. We'll stay here on the Cougar Sports Network because, again, close match, 21-19. Cougs holding on, trying to just score 4 more points so they can send it to set number 5. And, again, we talk about how both of the teams have been eliminated from the NAC conference tournament contention. But, there's still stuff to play for. The Cougars, again, you want to end the season on a win. It would break a 3-match losing streak. You'd end the season at 12-12, 500. Sabres want to get the win. End the season, break their own 3-match losing streak, go into the offseason with a little bit of momentum, end on a positive note. Sabres trying to hold on to their win streak over the Cougars. Again, the last time the Cougars beat the Marian Sabres in men's volleyball was March 6th, 2020, which is a week before the world shut down due to the COVID pandemic. So it feels like we've lived a lifetime since then. Cougars want to get the dub here today, make it so that it no longer becomes 6 years since they beat Marian. It becomes a matter of days. And looking to help make that happen now here, get the Cougs to a set 4 victory is number 12, Tate Johnson, who's back to serve. Johnson's serve is unfortunately not strong enough, so Cougars now have officially doubled up the Sabres on service errors, but now, again, it stays a 1-point match. And here in the last 5 or so points, this match will most likely come down to which team can make the fewest errors. Shotgun service over to Hoffman. Cardenas. Armstrong hits it over, hit up by Gusan. To Bo. Calderon Castro. Hit up. Johnson hits it up to Bo. To Gusan. To Gomez. Hits it up by Cardenas. To Mosher. Armstrong blocked at the line by the Sabres. Armstrong again. And Armstrong, he looked like he tried to course correct in midair, and that just kind of affected his hit on the ball, sent it out. And this is now tied 21-21. Sabres get a very important 2 points straight out of the timeout. Armstrong to Mosher. Ford just taps it over. Nice run in by Gusan to keep it up. Gomez blocked at the line by the Cougs. And the Sabres can't come down with the Cougars. Retake the lead 22-21. It was just a nice block there by the Cougs. And then the Sabres tried to corral it, but they weren't able to before it just ended up going down all the way down the net and hitting the ground. Tyrese Armstrong serving for the Cougs. And Tyrese Armstrong, another serve that sends out. Another service error for the Cougs. 21 hit blackjack. Keeping it 22-22 is now Adrian Calderon Castro trying to give the Sabres the lead. Hoffman. Mosher. Outside for blocked at the line by the Sabres. Ford. Mosher. And Hoffman can't make a play. It was just a miss hit there. Sabres 2 points away from winning the match, and that's going to force Cougar coach Greg Manos to take his final timeout here in set number 4. So now, while the two teams take a break, we will also take a short break here on the Cougar Sports Network, but don't go anywhere. We have the final moments of set number 4 and potentially the match coming up. And we are back here on the Cougar Sports Network as your Concordia University Chicago Cougars trying to get a few much-needed points here down the stretch against the Marian Sabres. Concordia trailing the match 2-1 from the Sabres, trying to string together some points so they can send it to set number 5 here in Geisman Gymnasium. So Adrian Calderon Castro serves over to Hoffman. To Mosher. Just two teams just smack the ball against each other at the net. Comes out on the Cougars side. The Cougars get the very important first point out of the timeout, making it 23-23. And Ford with the serve is over. Calderon Castro hits it up. Bo, Ford, Mosher, Hoffman, Calderon Castro, Bo, and Luke Jones with a big hit sends it past the diving arms of Alexander Ford, putting the Sabres not only at set point but at match point. They can get this one last point. They'll get another win against the Cougars, make it their 6th win in a row over the Cougars. And the man to try to do that is Andrew Briones. He's back to serve, looking to bring it home for the Sabres. Serve is up. Hit up by Hoffman. Mosher. Hoffman. Hit up. Kept up by Kendrick. Gusan, Mosher, Cardenas, Hoffman, Capriones, DeBow. Blocked at the line by the Cougs, but it's going to head out of bounds. And that will do it for the set. That will do it for the match. And that will do it for the Cougars season as the Cougars fall to the Marian Sabres 3-1. Fall in set number 4, 25-23. Ending their season on an unfortunate 4-game losing streak with a final record of 11-14 and 3-9 in conference play. And, you know, all 4 sets, well, it's interesting. Set 1 and set 4 were both very hard-fought sets. You know, set 1 we had some extra volleyball. Set 4 came down to 25-23. Cougars had a dominant set 2 victory. Sabres, you know, on paper they only won by 5, but it was a set where they were very in control. And so in the end, you know, I mentioned earlier how it's going to come down to who could make the fewest mistakes. And in the end, it was the Cougars. And what really killed them was, again, I've been saying it all match long, came down to service errors. The Sabres had 10 service errors. The Cougs had 21, more than double the amount for the Sabres, making it just a rough end. And, you know, if you're the Cougs, it's not the end of the season you wanted. You want to go out into the offseason with a win in your home finale. But, again, they fought hard. They fought hard all season. They fought very hard through all 4 sets. Sometimes it just doesn't go your way. You know, you look at the stats. Leader in kills for both teams was Adrian Calderon Castro for the Sabres. He had 16. Most on the Cougs was Alexander Ford with 14. And, you know, one thing you got to mention about Ford is Ford had 14 kills to only 2 errors. He played very good volleyball today, throwing an additional 4 blocks and 2 service aces. He did about everything you could ask of him. He was an all-star there on the floor for the Cougs. But, again, Cougs put up a hard fight, ultimately fall to the Marian Sabres. And so that'll do it for both teams' seasons. Again, neither team qualified for the NAC conference tournament, but Sabres can ride off into the offseason with a win. This is just ends a bit of a disappointing season for the Cougs. You know, they made the NAC tournament last year. They had a lot of returning players this year. They were hoping they'd have momentum on their side. You know, they just fought hard all season, but sometimes that's just the way the volleyball bounces. And so now you figure how to best regroup in the offseason and coming back next year, you know, get back on track, get back to the NAC conference tournaments. And again, some final stat lines for you. Marian, 44 kills to the Cougars, 48. A 1-2-3 hitting percentage to the Cougars, 165. Cougars had 21 service errors to the Sabres, 10. They also had 8 service aces to the Sabres, 2. Cougars 8 blocks to Marian 6. And again, a hard-fought loss here for the Cougars. Not the way you want to end the season, not the way you want to end the home finale. But I said it earlier, this has been the season here in Geisman Gymnasium. Now the remainder of everything will be outside at the Cougar softball field for softball or Cougar Stadium for baseball, as the sounds of trains, drops of Jupiter play out throughout Geisman Gymnasium. But obviously, today could not be done without the work of a lot of incredibly talented people working on scoreboard. We had Jacob Garrison, our libero and our spotter, the graduate assistant Sydney Lloyd. On scorebook, you had Terry on PA, you had Jerry Panati on stats, you had our assistant athletic communications director, Corey Welch. We're run, as always, while she might not be here right now, she might be working over at baseball. We're always led by the head of the athletic communications department, the uber-talented Kayla McLeod. On production and play-by-play, I've been Eric Perry. Thank you for watching all season long men's volleyball here and all season long here in Geisman Gymnasium. We'll see you in the fall for some more Cougar volleyball. See you next year. Cougars volleyball will be back next spring for some more NAC action. But we still got baseball and softball left before the year is over. We'll see you next time, and until then, roll Cougs.